just getting live from the current location again just to discuss a few topics. So we have noticed that there's a shift in the demographic of populace that's visiting this cafe. Or at least I've noticed. I wouldn't say that I'm the most accurate historian for the population or populace of a typical customer wouldn't be. So there are some problems, right? As far as gang stalking, this is criteria that we can't just simply overlook. And that is typically, as far as criminology, that is anticipated more often than not. Part of is characteristic and attribute of behavior associated with a very specific population. So we're not trying to be friends is really important for people to understand. And what's ironic about the criminology is that there's this grandeur and they're disillusioned, and that these people that are strangers believe they have some sort of power where they can kind of proceed and gander and wander to certain geographic locations as if they're affluent because they wear a certain kind of article of clothing, they style their hair a certain way. They have an idea of what white is to them, and it's kind of a stereotype. And so one topic, I'm the direct descendant of the founder of this university, which is really very significant and important, right? Which means I'm not just of the land, not just of a lot of corporate franchises, pretty much every corporate franchise at the university. So that's not grandeur, that is a fact. And aside from that, that's not me and that's not my husband or me, that's not our biggest accomplishment, right? As far as how we get people onboarded and briefed and we don't implicate them and allow them to be who they are and evolve in this process, that's a very significant, poignant topic of conversation. And I can't discuss that explicitly because I'm not briefed to the facts of how people that are merited, credentialed, and know the intricacies of criminology from direct encounter, not just simulation. So a knack is a knack is just important to say that. So a specific example, if important to mention, I don't want anybody at my academic institution wearing anything that says black this or black that. That's just, we don't support that. There are historically black colleges, and they're actually not supposed to not accept Caucasian students. So I wonder if, we know some people, or we've learned of some people, we've learned their story, if they were present at one of the events we have not yet verified, that have, for whatever reason, at that stage in life, literally singularly and isolated, now I don't know if they would make a different choice. At that stage, and I'm not saying that they should, I'm just saying I don't know, but at whatever point in their stage timeline of their differentiated youth, decided that taking a risk one direction or another made more sense for them for whatever reason. And I don't really have enough fact-based information to productively discuss why places like that aren't helpful, or the motives for supporting something so egregious, if that's the right way to say that, that really kind of ruins the integrity of what to exist means. Organically, free from association and just seeking attention. So that is our, yeah. So I will stop there. I'm getting emotional. Just really quickly, the harassment, the passive aggressive profile associated with the criminology, that's ingrained. And I don't know how to explain that. So as far as acuity, that is, this is beyond a linguistics science, right? These people know what they're doing and they do this. And sometimes people have to, when there's a lot going on, take a step in either direction to get some space and evaluate and assess what's helpful, what's not helpful, and if they're burned out or fatigued or not capable of meeting the standard of whatever the obligations are for their job description or the significant family relationship or friend relationship are less of time. So sometimes people might misinterpret or interpret being flighted, and that's just best to address that in real time. But flighted is still almost different from the hostile nature of these covert attacks. It's covert overt attacks that are around the clock. So as far as like where we've been able to rest, we don't unnecessarily retreat, but we like if we were able to go right across the street and rest at the park, we would rest there. We don't want to be a burden to the property line of the dorm, and we're concerned about spooking people unnecessarily, even though if they wanted us to camp there, just to see that we're here, like in a predictable way. We don't necessarily see anything wrong with that, but we don't assume that. And we don't know how there's been the interpretation of additional people that are more seasoned here, if that's the best way to say that. So at some point, I would prefer my husband to be present, but I'm pretty sure, although I'd like to assume, that I might have some siblings that work for the police force here in this area. And I'm kind of like on their turf, if that's the right way to say that. And I don't really know if this is helpful for me to be here, or if I am here, there has to be a specified start and conclusion, right? And I don't know where we are with the temporary property, but the standard of professionalism, we had mentioned that we are extremely concerned about that, and we're also not encouraging or supporting what's happening. So as far as if they had to, I'm not saying that they give me any special treatment, but when they're on the job, it's almost like they've taken me to work if I'm just here, if that's the best way to say that. And that's not helpful for objective information. So I don't know what the suggestions are, whereas if I didn't have to lug this stuff around, I could walk further distances and sit somewhere else for a few hours during the day, if that were helpful. But with the understanding of maintaining visibility and predictability, if I was rotating every day of the week from one cafe to another cafe, for example. If we are really sticking to the timeline. So we've noticed that there are some people that will randomly panhandle, but kind of be a little disruptive to customers at the cafes in the area. We don't really know what that's about. But we make sure that we stay responsible for ourselves and mind our business, and we're just not able to help. And we've noticed that unfortunately sometimes when people try to back us in the corners, they compromise our safety, whereas they're just, for whatever reason, that's a recreational activity for the day. It's not more or less whatever that was or wasn't for them, but for us, that puts us in a really not good situation. because people are looking for reasons to be discriminatory to us because we're white. And then, yeah, that's all. I'm not certain that I'm able to, at this time, provide the focus to describe as effectively and respectfully as possible. That we cannot condone or pretend like what's happening is not happening. So when there's an influx of a certain kind of people that aren't invited, and we do have to say that you're not invited. We don't know how you get this information. You don't want to be a friend. And the people that I mean, I just don't even know what to say because this could be so offensive to people that don't want to be people on the radar. But at the same time, like you're not taking a stand to ensure that our boundaries are respected. And we, by existing, kind of make sure that your boundaries are respected. So this is just not working for us. This is just not working out. So I don't know what to say. I don't know. I don't have. That's just the bottom line. They'll try to outsmart people. They'll pretend that they're like. Even when there was the move-in, dropped some examples were very explicit. More so than even I was able to define. I can acknowledge when I don't have access to fact-based information. And they tread that line, and this is just obnoxious behavior that really emphasizes more of the deficiencies of its performance. Even GoPuff was an example of that. This is not the same. I'm sorry to have to say that. And that, they steal our technology, they steal everything from us. And then they try to make it like that's the other, it's not, they steal. So as far as like gauging, I don't really know. I think some people are, I don't know to be honest, but we definitely don't ever walk around looking for problems. We really don't. So we've been very like step by step, because we had to support that there was initiative for rationale for intervention, that there is a problem. There's more than one problem. These are serious problems that need to be dealt with. And this has to be alleviated, eliminated once and for all. Like people need to understand they're not the same. So having access to money, some people that immigrate here understand that money is really tough to get. Or like your financial investments, how much cash you have available versus if you're taking on some debt with an interest rate. But some people choose to live in slums and then they wear whatever their work uniform is or whatever, and they throw money around as if I don't know, but that's a hypothetical, and so they're denigrating us. And there's a lot more that's problematic with that too. So one of the copycat serial killers who presents to society as a Caucasian woman is like allegedly Middlesex and creates these alter egos for him herself. And then she uses it, that's like her criminal profile. So like a black man would be her criminal profile, even though she presents as an older white woman with like blondish hair and blue or green eyes or whatever, and kind of shorter and heavier set. So people stigmatize that politically, personally, and privately amongst society, communities of society. People in certain populace process that information in a certain way. That's part of that individual, hypothetically, that's part of their criminal process their criminology. So then when that kind of individual is so much older than a younger person who, for whatever reason, is or isn't private about whatever topics, and then they like exploit that people don't understand when people make certain choices for themselves, if that makes sense, or when people have to commit to understanding that there's something they don't understand about themselves. It's usually like could be like an emotional time because life could be so busy, and then to kind of like almost accidentally be isolated and outcasted, and then someone just like takes that, and like there's something different from throwing caution to the wind and just like throwing um, throwing like their entire bedroom out or their entire house out, right? Like that's what that is. People work to build a space for themselves. Like that's the best analogy that can. Someone just like tears that and throws that away as if it never even really existed. So this is, and then other people just are like, well, whatever, because they believe they somehow exist in a more permanent way or significant way, as if they've gotten to a certain level and they're not like they want a race that they're not willing to relinquish, but nobody knew they wanted to compete and they didn't even contact anyone to verify if they're really the best of the best. And they like a superiority complex, I guess, even though they're not really superior, but then there's like bullying and this and that. So I don't really know how I'm not devoting as much focus to the topic to be more concise and effective about a theoretical, metaphorical process of hierarchy and what socialization could or couldn't be hypothetically in a case scenario standard of discussion. That's very just like people devote time to where they're working for like 12 to 16 hours a day or whatever. Want to make sure that that's an environment that is respectful and has integrity, and it's almost like the same analogy. People just like throw everything away, and at some point the money is not enough, and that's usually not always. I wouldn't overgeneralize or assume, but maybe there are people that have more specific examples. And then I'm in a situation where someone's like, oh, it's cold, here's $20. You know, I'm in a situation where I haven't received a payment. I don't know if my husband's received a payment. And I'm endangered, right? So we just have to be cautious. We have to be thorough and cautious with how we're proceeding. And we can't expect, I don't know, with so many possible siblings in the area, I don't know if they didn't know I was here, but they've not worked to help in any way. I'm not offended. I don't think that my husband, we're not offended, but I don't know if they're irritated with our parents, or I don't know what the situation is. I don't know if there's just like, I need to know if I would never ask them for help, to be very honest, because I don't even know that they really know who I am. And because me and my husband are who we are, we're not saying that they're not like us or we're not like them, if that's the right way to say that. We just wouldn't take for granted what the economic impact has been being here. So we want to make sure that there's well-established integrity of nobody's. I don't know if they're resentful that our parents, like this just kind of magnifies the issue, right? That they took us for granted. Like our parents on whatever level, whenever they found out or they didn't find out, didn't value us enough. So Edward really is in this unique situation, if that's the best way to say that. So I would never, valor is really important to us, right? We don't underestimate, but I don't get the impression that anyone that's a sibling, I, I get the impression that we kind of understand that this is a step-by-step situation and we take responsibility. Like I take responsibility for myself. And so no matter what people attempt, I still have to stay responsible for myself and make every effort. But now I kind of get the impression, deviating from that this is too high risk in ways where the best way to assist is to have an intermediary. So I wasn't certain how I would never, ever, ever, me and my husband we don't, unless we thoroughly understand, there's like a crisis emergency situation, but we understand that even in those situations, we have to be prepared to meet a standard. I don't know if that's the best, I wonder if that's the best way without getting too specific to discuss how we view family and that we conditions unconditional and that people are affected. So I don't really know what's been going on, to be very honest. But I haven't really been considering anything specific, if that's what I'm going to say that. Just in retrospect, when there's a brief reprieve of, I don't really know, but I don't know if they view that. Honestly, like we do prefer certain parents. That's where I see that. So we're not compromising. And I don't know if the siblings are in agreement. So I'm not really sure. The forecast was a little different today. I don't really know. There's precipitation on the forecast for basically like not like sometime this week. So the temperatures are a little cooler in the evenings through the early morning hours. If there's wind, I'm just not really certain. The biggest issue is visibility. So the one location that the lights are on through the evening is what seems to make that like a very optimal spot if the spot's available and through inclement weather. But the ventilation is positive, but it also gets very cold. And we're still in like the 50-degree Fahrenheit range, like 50s to 60s. But with the wind, the breeze, which is positive, but it's colder, like I don't know, between 20 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't have a thermometer, so yeah, it gets very cold, and the sleeping bag was really to be able to layer up with other blankets and through the summer to, just stay covered. But there's not much ventilation in that sleeping bag. The fabric, although for colder temperatures, surprising, it doesn't really trap any heat either, to be very honest. So it's not a windbreaker, and there's no it's perfect for the cost and being able to layer up and be not have to worry about the wind blowing up the blanket or something like that because we're camping outside and we don't have a tent. I don't have a tent. We're camping outside. Food's an issue. Everything's an issue. Everything about this situation is an issue. Is a problem. This is a bad situation. We stay positive and committed to being responsible for ourselves. So scheduling, keeping a structured day, if there's seating available at this cafe because we can't go to Starbucks anymore. And that wasn't necessarily our first choice anyway, to be honest. But the Penn bookstore doesn't have tables just out in the bookstore anymore where people could like sit. Whereas if they just had those tables set up, I could just go get set up there for the day. And that would be extremely helpful. For security reasons, I don't know if that would be helpful, right? Just if I needed to like get out of the building or something like that, I don't know if that would be helpful because I'd be up on the second floor. But and if people were trying to stalk me and cause problems, there's more space where they could be not caught. Whereas like here, this is a little bit different floor plan and it's on one level, right? So we take all of this into consideration, but not just anyone that has to manage their time and prioritize and is carrying stuff around and needs to take care of themselves, just pretty much any and every individual. Those are considerations that any person would have. But the commitment to cause problems and the goal of staying visible is important, but there's even been breakdowns with that pretty much everywhere. So we're taking this one step at a time. We don't know how much longer this will be viable for, and we don't know if this is no longer viable in the foreseeable, like sooner than later, then I don't know what our next option is, to be very honest. They've changed the hours of operation of the counter at the grocery store, but that wasn't our first choice. The grocery store is not a good place to be. Like their cafe area, the homeless people have ruined it. We're not able to make purchase, so we don't. Some people will sit at the Qdoba if they get food. They'll sit there for a few hours. We're not able to make a purchase, and I don't know that we would purchase the food, to be honest. I'm sorry to have to say that, but it's not that I don't think the food is good. I heard an employee say something about some sort of kind of pest in the food. I may have accidentally, I wasn't eavesdropping or anything like that. There was an employee openly discussing not appropriately handling infection control. So, I'm not going to be like staunch in my beliefs and my boundaries and then be around, like if I don't agree with something, then I can't stay and support that. But at the same time, being forced into the situation and figuring out what's viable. The Panera tried to ban me from eating food that wasn't from the cafe when we had already mentioned and spoken to the manager about that. So, and the Wi-Fi doesn't always work. So, I don't know how this could evolve, but I just want to go home and be with my husband. I don't want to be here. I miss him. I don't. I support our goals, and I'm committed to him and to our goals. So, but this isn't. I mean, if you were to say this is the next 12 months, this is the way this is going to be. But I just don't have anything to say. Yeah, I'd have to say for safety reasons, like as his wife and all that, I don't think that he wants. I don't think this isn't safe. So Universal City Hospitality Coalition. Right. So we have to be paid. That's the problem. We have to be paid. And it's really just that simple. So what's going on? Where's the money? I'm not gonna spend time with certain people. I don't want to be around certain people. Like even at a distance. I'm not a cool friend. I'm not campaigning for them. I'm not lobbying for them. I'm not certain this was correct. Yeah, there's no fidelity. So I don't know what that was about. I didn't see anything at the pantry. I could walk over really quickly and check.